On Sunday, Ryan and I were having real problems with the electronics in Kylo Wen, and we're not sure what's going on or why it was happening. So the problems we were facing were only in the arena. I cannot reproduce any of these issues outside of the arena, no matter what I try. So while this robot was in the arena, every time we tried to drive it, we would lose control of the robot for maybe 5 seconds, in which time the robot would be completely unresponsive to the transmitter. If it was driving at the time, it would just coast, like it would it would just coast. It wasn't as if it sort of like suddenly started having a mind of its own and driving without input. It was as if the transmitter was turned off, which it wasn't. and it's really frustrating because we don't know what's going on. So I'm going to try and explain the electronics that we have in here, and I'm curious to know if anyone has any ideas as to what was going on, because short of there being some interaction between a steel floor and this robot, I don't know what's going on. So the electronics of Kylo Wen, there's these 4 motors for drive. This is a sort of simpler configuration because by the end of it, we'd stripped out the weapon and had done a bit of like rework to try and resolve this problem on the day, and we didn't get anywhere. So while this is not exactly what we had in all the fights, this does exhibit all the same problems in the arena. So the receiver is here, right in the middle of the robot. The antenna are both just sort of poking out here-ish. I don't know where else we can put this at this point. I don't know where we could put it that would be further away from other electronics. The receiver is powered off of a separate BEC. This is a 3-amp 6S UBEC thing. In the beginning of the tournament, we did have this powered off of the BEC from the speed controllers, or from one of the speed controllers. On advice from someone, I forget who, we tried it with a different BEC and we had exactly the same problems. The way the control works is that there's an ESC under this motor here, and that ESC controls the front 2 motors, and there's a second ESC at the back here underneath this motor, and that controls the rear 2 motors. Each ESC is one of those sort of dual ESC unbranded kind of things from China. It has onboard mixing for doing left and right, and that's what we use. These are both connected to the same receiver, and the way that works is that the signal wire from the elevator and aileron is, and also the ground wire as well, is effectively goes through a Y cable. So it comes out of the receiver, gets split into 2. One of those gets sent to the front one, and the other one gets sent to the back one. There's no active electronics in there to do the split. It's just a very simple soldered up Y cable. I don't know if that's the best way to do that. Who knows? Maybe you can tell me. But that's the way that works. And what we have been told as well is to try putting capacitors across these motors to reduce the amount of sort of noise they send back through the wires. We will try that. But I just want to stress again, I cannot make this fail outside of the arena. Like, it feels like something about being in the arena is what causes it to go wrong, and that seems mad to me as well. So I don't know what's going on. Things I've tried to reproduce this at home. If I drive this at full throttle in the kitchen, it's fine. It never cuts out. The arena or the warehouse was quite cold, so I've cooled Kylo Wen down. I've left it not quite outside, but basically outside to cool down, and I can't reproduce the issue. I've held my foot on it and basically held the motors at stall and tried to drive it, and it doesn't cut out. Everything keeps working. I haven't got a large sheet of steel to try driving it on, so I can't test anything about that. Yeah, I'm stumped as to what's going on here. We'd love to know if you have any ideas. I will also just, admit and say, we don't really know what we're doing. We're definitely at the point where we know enough to be dangerous with this kind of stuff. So any advice on how to improve this would be much appreciated. I will do more effort in the future to cover up all the solder joints this was a rushed build and we should have used hot glue or something. But other than that, I think it's quite sound. If you have any other questions about how it works, then ask away. I'll try to answer them. The way the power distribution works, for whatever that's worth, the battery's up here. The positive wire from the battery goes out to one end of this sort of link under here, and then it goes through the link, and then this then gets split into 3 branches. One of those branches, the positive end of the branch, goes to one of the speed controllers, the other one goes to another speed controller, and the third one used to go to the speed controller for the motor, but now goes to the BEC, and then those 3 branches are rejoined on the negative end of the battery. And there's a 4th branch that does the LED as well, so that's sort of separate from everything else. So that's all 4 of those things are in parallel. If that's not the way to do it, then let us know. I'd love to know the correct way of doing that. Yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks.